Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where today's most exciting startup founders share their stories and strategies. They also deliver tangible lessons learned along the way that you can apply to your own startup. Each episode is a true masterclass. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and I've got a special guest with me today, one that I have chased on LinkedIn for quite some time, and we finally have found a time that works in our schedule. But Moonie Zhu, Moonie, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Thank you for having me here. I feel honored.
So it's a pleasure. I've followed your content for a long time, and we were talking offline about just her amazing abilities, linguistic abilities that she can navigate in multiple languages equally well, it seems like, online. So Moonie, if you and I met at a networking event, how would you introduce yourself to me?
First, my name is Moonie Zhu, so you can all call me Moonie. So I am the co-founder and managing director of eTOC. eTOC comes from e-commerce to China. As you can probably already tell from the name, we help international companies either enter into the Chinese market via e-commerce and digital marketing, or growing their existing online business. And me, myself, as you can see, I am Chinese. I look Chinese. I was born and grew up in China, and I think about 16 years ago, I came to Germany, and since then I stuck in Germany happily, enjoying the life.
Now, you said you came from Shanghai, like you'd studied university in Shanghai. That's, what Mexico City and Shanghai kind of compete for being the largest city in the world. So it is. I've been to Shanghai actually a couple of times, and it is an amazing city. Just especially the kind of the Corniche, along the harbor there. It's just a really beautiful walk. But describe kind of maybe the different business climate that you've experienced in China versus, say, in Europe.
It's actually quite different. You're right. Shanghai is just massive, right? So it's gigantic. I kind of, if now I go back to Shanghai, well, I was born actually in Nanjing, which is a city also massively big next to Shanghai. But I spent my university time lived in Shanghai for quite some time. So the difference, I don't know. There are so many differences between, having the business or living in Shanghai as living in Europe or living in Germany. At the beginning, I didn't feel the culture shock, so I felt like everything was very interesting as I came to Germany. The only shock was the size of the city, right? So I remember the first time I arrived in Germany, which was a really small city. And somebody showed me that, look, that was the city center. And I was really shocked because I asked her, okay, do you mean that 5 stores there? Because I came from Shanghai, it was like, I can't imagine this could be a city center. But with the time, I do feel a lot of differences, but I think that I kind of integrated myself well and adapted both values, which I consider as important for me.
It's interesting. China is one of those places that has more than 100 cities with 1 million or more population. So even, a city of 1 million in China may be considered almost like a small city or a large town, so to speak.
Exactly.
But, yeah, the difference is pretty stark. But it's interesting when you look at the business landscape. China, the economy and the manufacturing, and just especially related to e-commerce, is so integrated into their business culture. How did you kind of arrive at this, what was the journey that led you to starting eTOC?
Well, that's actually a quite interesting story. So before I mention my backstory, let's say I have to actually mention my business partner. So how we get to know each other and how we decided to build eTOC together. So actually, my business partner, his name is Tong Hao. So I met Hao during my time in the corporate at the company, which is called Tchibo. So I was responsible for the Tchibo China market entry, and Hao at that time was working at Alibaba's Tmall division. Mm-hmm. And he was assisting us with Tchibo's China market entry. Then just one day, over a casual lunch in Shanghai. So what could we possibly talk about? I just said to him, hey, you know what? I think we can help a lot of companies succeed in China with our complementary background and experiences. And he said, okay, let's do it. And that was really that simple, actually. And just like that. So we started building eTOC together, and I think I never had a moment of doubt. It happened so quickly and naturally, because I think we both felt that the stars have aligned and it's just the right thing to do at the right time. So, but before that, I was working at corporate world in 3 awesome international companies for almost 10 years. Uh-huh. So I learned a lot there as well. It's just, it's a totally different feeling building up your own company, starting from scratch. And we didn't even have any funding, zero funding, right? And then building everything little by little. It's just satisfying.
Long journey. So I'm interested, did you quit your corporate job immediately and just go all in, or did you kind of try to do both for a while until maybe say eTOC started generating some revenue, and then you can kind of step out of your corporate space?
Actually, I all in. I think if you're convinced by this idea, you should be all in. I don't know. A lot of people are saying, okay, you don't have to quit your job and you can start with your entrepreneurial idea as a side hustle. I don't know if maybe I don't have that much energy. I really have to.
That focus. Is not true.
Everything that I have, all my strengths on this one focus, and I'm glad that I did that, because there's only one way to go. And I really have to succeed in this endeavor that I have, initiated for myself. And this kind of pressure was a good pressure, positive pressure, drives me forward.
So I have a theory that entrepreneurs have to have 2 crucial elements to succeed. Number one, they have to have the reward of success. Like if they succeed in there has to be a reward. There has to be a carrot at the end of the journey. There has to be something that is an incentive, a financial incentive. But the second thing I think they have to have is the fear of failure. How do you balance the fear of failure and the reward of success? And when you were saying I was all in, I quit my corporate job and I was all in. I mean, the expression came to mind, if you heard the expression, they burned the boats, the Vikings would invade. Speaking of Denmark, we talked about earlier. So the Vikings invade, they land, they burn the boats. So there's no retreat, they are completely in. And I also thought about when you said that, sometimes if you do too many things, you don't do anything well. So if you're divided, between say your day job and your side gig type thing, are you doing either of them really well and to the max of your abilities? Is that kind of were some of that kind of the drivers behind your decision?
Yes, I actually quite, I think that this theory that you just were talking about was very interesting. Afraid of failures and, you don't have a way back anymore. And also, this reward thing, that's actually quite interesting topic for me. I mean, yes, of course, everybody is afraid to fail, right? That's for sure. But I actually, I didn't think that much at that time. And I felt that I don't have that much to lose. So if I fail, I tried. But I was very convinced by the idea. Even though that this idea doesn't turn out to be successful, I can always go back to the corporate world and start working again. It will be more difficult, right? But at least I won't regret. So I think that you ask about the drivers, my family is quite entrepreneurial as well. I guess that I have this in my blood, but I didn't want to just start being an entrepreneur with any idea. I really have to have one idea that I'm 100% convinced, So, and then when this idea came, I took the opportunity and made it happen right away.
All in, burn the boats. We're all in. Now, it's interesting you mentioned, because I think that is a factor as well. You mentioned, hey, what did I really have to lose? I mean, I could have, if it didn't work, I can always go back kind of into the corporate side of things. And I think that is also, what's the downside risk, of the decision. But I do think that, it takes a special type of individual to be able to just go all in. And I think it also depends on, what's your current family status and what's your debt status, and that type of thing. What's your financial, status that you're looking at. But if I want to shift a little bit here and really drill down kind of on eTOC a little bit. And so you and I are jumping on a lift. We're going to go up 10 floors, and in that 30 seconds or whatever, give me your best elevator pitch of eTOC.
Okay, so first of all, I think we have an amazing team as eTOC. And just as I mentioned, I really always make it a point to mention my business partner, because I really appreciate this partnership. And I always feel very grateful to have found this business partner, because I heard so many stories of team, they don't work together and then they fight against each other. And then the very excellent ideas at the end, they fail, right? So it's truly unfortunate. And this is actually the core of our success, let's say, because we trust each other, we appreciate each other, we work seamlessly with each other together, right? So actually we're living in different countries, right? I live in Germany and my business partner live in Shanghai. In China, we have two teams. So we each lead a team over 10,000 kilometers apart.
Wow.
But, our trust is just growing every day, even deeper. And I think that's the foundation of every successful company. And I'm really lucky to be able to have it shared with my business partner. And I think, this makes our company with a long-term growing perspective, let's say. Yeah. But definitely, I mean, being or building a company is not an easy task, right? So when I decided to become an entrepreneur, I know that I was in for a rough ride. I know that I have to focus all my strengths on one target, without knowing will I succeed or survive. Well, of course, I said, okay, I can always go back to corporate. It's going to be difficult. Anyways, what I've built before, probably I cannot carry on to, build a better career in the corporate world. That's one of the possibilities that make you scared of, your failures. But let's say I feel like, I found my true calling as, being an entrepreneur. I'm passionate about this. I never felt so alive. Actually, I enjoy it every day. I have a lot of moments. I got beaten down by the day and I felt like every day is a roller coaster, but I really love what I do. And I think this is very important to lead the company as well. And our team, I just mentioned, we're based in Europe and in China. We're coming from both cultures, and we know, how our clients work and how the Chinese work. And this is actually one of the best feedback we have heard from our clients, that we're closer to them. But at the same time, we know, the business has to be taken care of in China by our China team. And it worked just perfectly. This is actually, one of our unique selling points. And over the past 4 years, our turnover has doubled every year. So until now, we've helped already over 100 international companies to be successful in China. And they're from small companies to large international corporations. So I'm actually quite proud of that.
And you should be. I mean, that's amazing in a relatively short period of time. I mean, how many companies you've actually worked with. And it looks like to me, from just somebody observing, especially primarily in LinkedIn, your content that you produce and you share on that platform. But are you moving to a point that a lot of your work is now inbound versus outbound marketing, like, people contacting you saying, hey, we need your service, let's talk about that. Have you gotten over that hump a little bit? You're not having to reach out quite as aggressively as you did early.
Exactly. Actually, this is what I'm always encouraging people to do, right? Put yourself out there, create awesome content, to introduce yourself, promote yourself on LinkedIn. That's what I did. I've been creating content just for, I think, like 8 months or 9 months. I started creating content regularly in October, end of October last year. Yeah, and it's been working wonders. So actually, we have had really numerous leads generated just from my LinkedIn content. People just reaching out to me and asking me, can we have a talk? We have this business. We want to expand to China. Can you help us? So many leads, really good leads. But also, of course, there are different kind of those inquiries, right? You really need to take the time to filter it. Yeah. But I think that if you do the outbound marketing, you can choose who you want to talk to, which is also a very good approach. We don't have to do it that much outbound marketing, but I really want to put more effort into it, because now we're just, busy enough dealing with the inquiries just coming to us, because of LinkedIn, because of my content. Right. So yeah, I think every business person should make use of LinkedIn. It's not only a resume or just a simple platform anymore. I think over 90%, they're just silent on LinkedIn. And only 1% or something are just creators. So it doesn't matter. At the beginning, I always thought that, I don't know if people really want to see my content that often, that I talk so much about China. Not everybody is interested in China, but it doesn't matter, you talk to the people who wants to read your content, and they're your targets.
Right. You find your tribe, so to speak, on LinkedIn through that content creation. But if you had to narrow down, who would be your ideal client? Like, what is there a certain size company? Is it in a certain industry, certain number of employees? What is kind of what's the sweet spot, so to speak, of eTOC's client?
So we have really very different sizes of clients, let's say, and we offer them, of course, also different solutions, which matches with their status. But I must say that most of the clients are middle-sized companies. So they're not that big, and they need a lot of help about, to navigate business in China. And of course, if they are very committed and they see the potential in China, that would be awesome. That would be great, because sometimes we really need to put a lot of effort to educate them, because the whole digital landscape, how the market works, how the consumer works are totally different.
And I think even with the supply chain issues that you've seen, as a result of COVID and other, political issues as well. I mean, has that affected your business at all in a negative way?
Definitely a little bit impact, let's say. We don't feel that much negative impact yet, because we're growing, like I said, in the past 4 years, every year double our turnover. But definitely for a certain period, especially, the COVID and, the logistic disturbances in Shanghai definitely influenced the whole e-commerce performance. Thank God that their policies got, eased a lot recently. So I hope that it will develop in the right direction.
I mean, Shanghai, I'm assuming, is the busiest port in the world, right?
Yes.
As far as just shipping.
Yeah, exactly. So did you see the photo which was circling around on LinkedIn, that so many containers are you just stopping and waiting near the Shanghai port to enter into China? So that was shocking.
Yeah, it is amazing. And just the amount of traffic that goes through that port, in any given day, month, year, whatever. But it's you work primarily in Europe? Is it primarily European to China connection, or is this more global?
I'm primarily in Europe. So that's definitely the case. I mean, in the past, we only exist for a bit over 4 years, and 3 of them are COVID time. So actually, travel wasn't very frequent, but because we are doing digital business and we have 2 teams, one in China and the other one in Europe. So we don't have to travel back and forth that often, which is, enormous advantage because, thanks to our setup. Also, it comforts our clients as well, because they know that, okay, they can just pick up the phone and call me, and I am at the same time zone as they do. I speak their language. I know how they work. So actually, we've been profiting from this.
And I'm assuming that not only do you have a presence in China, you probably have a network of factories, manufacturers, of distributors, kind of middleman type roles as well, brokers that you get to leverage and that are trusted partners for you guys.
Exactly. I think your business won't be successful if you don't have the right connections, right? So the relationship is especially important in the Chinese market, and we're really proud that we're local. So, but we understand actually how the Western company wants, how they work, and that's been, working perfectly for our client.
So what do you think the next 3 to 5 years is going to look like for eTOC? Are you going to take over the world? You have world domination in your goals?
Yes, we want to conquer the world. I definitely, I think that there are still a lot of potential, definitely in Germany, in the German-speaking countries as well. And this has been a primary market for us, for sure. But we also have a lot of clients from, for example, France, UK, the Netherlands, Denmark, all those European countries. We have some from the US, but as you can see that the time difference. So we hope that we're actually trying to build also a office in the US, so that maybe in the future we can also better take care, of the US clients as well. So we have big ambitions for sure.
Well, after we stop recording, we're going to talk about a joint venture between Rising Tide Startups and eTOC in the US. So we can certainly help you out on this side of things.
Sounds good. I
No,
won't say no to more business.
That's exactly right. It sounds like to me that you got enough coming in the front door that you're actually having to filter out right now, just, who you want to work with. But I've got an interesting question for you. And this is more of a personal question. So let's say you wake up tomorrow, eTOC doesn't exist. You've got to pay the rent, you've got to feed yourself, buy all the necessities of life. So what do you think you would do if you were going to start again tomorrow? What would be kind of your dream restart?
I think there are two layers of this question, right? So if I have a chance to start over, let's say if I would do the same, I think I would still do the same. I mean, I haven't achieved as much as some of the other entrepreneurs out there, but I'm okay. I'm doing okay. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, life is a conglomeration of choices, and these choices actually made us into who we are right now. And I'm here as myself today is precisely because of the choices I've made along the way, right?
Right.
So, and the thing is, I actually am quite happy with that. I love my life, actually. I love what I do, and I'm genuinely happy about my decisions and happy in life. So I actually don't want to change that much about this. So this is one. But there's the another, let's say, layer of this question saying, okay, if eTOC now doesn't exist anymore, I have to start over. I have to start over to build something new. I feel that I'm not that scared, actually, because I've learned so many skills to build up a business from scratch. I mean, I had an idea and I was able to execute this idea, carry out this idea, but I had to learn all the skills from scratch. And those skills, you can apply them everywhere, start building any business. So this kind of gives me a lot of confidence, not being afraid to start over again if I have to.
There is no doubt that you have executed well. There's no doubt that you've been successful, and there's kind of a quiet confidence, that you exude, not just in your LinkedIn content, but also on, and even in our chat right now. I mean, when I ask you questions, I mean, you really think through them and want to answer well, but there's this whole persona that just says, hey, if this stopped tomorrow, I'd be okay. I could,
that sounds pretty good.
We figured out, that is such a gift for an entrepreneur to have, that you say, hey, we're in it, we're all in, we burn the boats, but hey, if it doesn't work out, we'll do something else. I've learned a lot of things and have a lot of life lessons that I can apply to whatever that next thing might be. But sounds like to me that you've got your hands full with eTOC for a while. So I'm not trying to get you to shut your company down. I'm just curious about if that did happen. But you talked about, started this 4 years ago, seen double, you've doubled your revenue every year, so to speak, since that start. But there's always lessons learned. And as a founder, as a co-founder, let's talk about just one or two really key lessons that you've learned in those 4 years that you think, if I would have known those when we started, it would have made life so much easier. It was just a hard lesson to learn, so to speak, that you think might be helpful to other people that are a little further behind you in the journey. What are one or two lessons?
I would say that I'd be less anxious if, because you're always so excited about your ideas, your endeavor, and you're about to start and build something completely new. And I think that also everybody's trying to succeed, right? And trying to quickly succeed. And this often places us under a lot of pressure. So I think maybe you just don't have to rush things. I wrote something recently, because I was watching the Forbes 30 under 30 list, right? So I kind of felt a little bit ashamed or, underachieved, I mean, I just started my business after I turned 30. And those guys, they already become, I don't know, successful entrepreneurs were at their 25 or beginning of 20, So I think a lot of people feel this kind of pressure. And I definitely also I can relate a lot to this kind of feeling. But if I look back, I was just not ready. During my 20s, I wasn't mature enough. I had other struggles in my life and challenges I had to conquer. Like I came to Germany without knowing the language, and I have to, study and integrate myself, learn a new language, learn new friends, and build a new life. And I made definitely a lot of mistakes, but I learned from them. Right? I become the person. Yeah. So that was very valuable experiences for me, although there were a lot of detours and mistakes I've made, but I just couldn't be there or couldn't be the way where I am right now without those experiences. So I think that everybody should just follow his or her own pace, never let other people's timeline or pace get you down, I think. So this is definitely very important. And I think that, talking about taking risks, right? So I think I would encourage everybody to just really try. I am also a very structured person. I calculate the risks thoroughly before I make a decision, right? So this sometimes kills the enthusiasm, the passion a bit. So I always thought that, okay, I'm not 100% ready, but when was I ever? So a lot of times you just have to just do it, try out, So I really speak this from my true heart, because I never doubted this decision of building a company from scratch, being an entrepreneur, all in.
Yep.
No way back.
No safety net. No, you're jumping out of the plane and you don't have a parachute with you. But it's interesting. It's a little bit like parenting. You're never ready to be a parent.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things. It's like, it will force you into readiness. It will force you to grow into that role, or you'll fail. And it's that simple. But it's those are really good thoughts, and I appreciate you sharing those with us. And I think those are certainly helpful to our listeners. But as we're closing today, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to just close us out with, and then just let people know, say, where the best place to find you online?
Yes, definitely LinkedIn, right? So you found me also on LinkedIn. So I am visible and very active on LinkedIn. So just reach out and find me on LinkedIn for sure.
All right. Well, Moonie, thank you so much for just taking time today. It's been a pleasure to connect, to virtually connect online and just to kind of hear your story. And I'll be really interested to kind of continue to follow you on your journey and just see the growth of eTOC over the next, few years or so. But thank you again for really just sharing with, from your heart today, and really just teaching us even through the mentor moment and playing your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Moonie, have a great day.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Another episode in the books. We hope you heard some great takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and YouTube. As always, thanks for listening to Rising Tide.